Diane Vick and Ralph Duran, and we're getting ready to launch my first podcast. It goes live on Dreamvisions 7 in December. The date will be announced soon, but I'm excited to start this podcast, and we're recording it today. And there's a lot of fun things coming in big adventures. And as you know, I've been writing a book. The book is coming out very soon in the next couple weeks. If you want a free copy, go ahead and message me. In a moment, we're going to start recording the show on Zoom here. You're only going to get a preview of the show, so you're going to get the first half. To see the whole thing, you got to go to Dreamvision 7 on December 5th when it does go live there and enjoy the whole episode. But today we're going to be talking about affirmations, boundaries, and perception. And those are very interesting topics that I've had many conversations with Ralph about, and we're going to go into that right now. Aloha and welcome to Goddess Unleashed. This is a new podcast. I am Diane Vick, the host. My last name is spelled V-I-C-H for anyone that was wondering. And today we will be discussing boundaries, perception, and affirmations. And there's a book launch which is actually happening in December. The book that I am releasing is called The IBS Cure, Eliminate Bloat. The reason I decided to go on with this book is because I personally had experienced IBS and its debilitating symptoms, and I was sick of the bloat, the pain, the chronic inflammation, and the fact that it took me away from my life and kept me hiding at parties and not being able to have fun and having to actually leave my career in nursing because it was too stressful for me. So I created this book to help people understand that there is a way to feel safe in your own skin and develop a loving strategy to relax and calm yourself. And one of those topics that is in the book is boundaries and how important they are to help you feel safe and be able to express your own emotions and truly let people know who you are, what you want to have in your life, what you want to experience, and how you want to live. So I brought in my friend and fellow hypnotist, Ralph Duran, and he is a mindset coach, and he's going to be here to join me on this first episode as we cover these interesting topics. And I'll let Ralph introduce himself and tell you a little bit about what he does.
Hello everyone, I'm Ralph Duran, and I'm a mindset coach and a hypnotist as well. I combine mindset coaching with hypnosis because it's incredibly effective. When you think about it and you ask yourself what mindset coaching is, it's pretty much along the lines as life coaching. However, I concentrate on the mindset. Why? Because everything is about mindset. Everything that we do is based on our mindset, how we're feeling at the time, such as creating boundaries or, those healthy boundaries. Having the mindset to be able to create those boundaries. So it's just being able to fine tune how you're perceiving things. And that's where hypnosis kicks in as well. That's pretty much along the lines. I help also, athletes perform at a higher level. Again, by changing perception as to whatever, it is they're going through. I help relationships, or people going through tough times and things like, the chronic stress that Diane was experiencing. Again, everything has to do with perception, how you're perceiving the things that are causing you stress, and how you start to delineate having boundaries so that you can just, feel comfortable in your own skin, deal with the stress in a better way, and you start to deal with endorphins rather than cortisol. Endorphins is actually the good hormone in your body. So that's me.
Well, that's interesting because I actually talk about that a lot in the book, happy hormones, and how we need to increase those in ourselves and the mindset as well. And one of the things that I had started doing a long time ago when I underwent hypnosis by one of my close friends, Adriana Foster, and it was a great integral part of my transformation. So when I started this journey, I wouldn't get on live videos. I couldn't record audios, though I really desperately wanted to. I couldn't figure out what was stopping me from accomplishing those dreams that I really wanted. And also what was causing those dreams to cause symptoms in my body. So as I went through this process and trying to start a podcast and starting to post live videos and create books and writing on my blog, I noticed that my symptoms started getting worse because I was holding all these emotions in and I kept stopping. So one of the things that I started to use was affirmations to change that mindset, because I had a lot of ingrained beliefs from childhood that were stopping me and making me believe that I wasn't worth expressing myself, that I wasn't good enough, that I was undesirable, that my story wasn't powerful, yet it actually was. And I really had this deep belief that I wanted to change those foundational beliefs that I had experienced with my childhood. So I use affirmations, and one of the ones that I decided to create for today is, I am free to live the life I dream. So when I use affirmations, I actually set alarms all over the place. I have sticky pads all over the place. There might be different affirmations. Certain things will go off on my phone or on my computer, and they just remind me that these are things that I really want to ingrain in my subconscious, and they're things that I want to work on truly believing and taking to heart and living the life that I dream. So that's the affirmation for today. I am free to live the life I dream. And all of these things were possible because I was able to do hypnosis and figure out exactly what was causing me to experience these things in my body and hold on my emotions that were triggering my symptoms and where were they coming from. So hypnosis was very powerful, and it helped me get to where I am, which is why I became a hypnotist. So now I'm a health coach, a hypnotist, and also a registered nurse and nursing professor. But I combine all these things together because I see how powerful it is to use the knowledge that I've acquired over the years in both the conventional medicine, but also this alternative field that I've launched recently. And again, in the book, we talk about boundaries, but when I was talking to Ralph about this topic the other day, when we were brainstorming about this podcast, we actually he came up with something that I found very interesting that I hadn't taken into account when I was writing this book or when I was on my journey, is perception. And he had a very interesting insight on perception. And I wanted him to share that today on this podcast.
So yes, perception. Perception is huge. And why do I say it's huge? Because perception is based on your beliefs. And she mentioned something that's very powerful, affirmations. Affirmation, words are extremely important. Words mean a lot, and how you use them kind of sets the tone with the intent or the intention that you may want to put forward to start thinking in that way. So you start to attract these things. If your mind is in a negative setting, how you're perceiving most things that are going on in front of you are going to be in a negative way. So having affirmations is a very healthy thing to have, and having those, you're doing them with that intent and saying it to yourself. I am powerful, I am happy, I am open to the happiness or to being loved, or whatever the case may be, or what you may be struggling with or going through. Start to use, I call it, there's a technique called word swap. Go the opposite direction, turn yourself around. You can. It's all about, everything is how we perceive things. And basically your language is based, or how you speak is based on what your thoughts are. Your thoughts are based on your belief, and your belief becomes your reality. What's reality? I mean, reality is something different to everyone. What may be real to me may not be real to Diane, or to someone else. So it's all based on how you look at things and what your perception is as to what's going on. You can be going through something with a loved one. It may be your mom, it may be your spouse, however it may be. They may be having the right intention in mind when they give you feedback on something, and it may not land the right way to you. And there, a whole spew of things starts, because now you took it as they're not either supporting you, or they're being against you, or they're just not understanding. And in what we're not understanding is that in their mind, They may have every right intent to guide you the right way. It doesn't mean it is or it ain't, but sometimes it's like, the example I like to give is like, sometimes you're stuck in the middle of like, I want to do this on this hand, but on the other hand, I also want to do something else. And at the end of the day, it's all the same common goal. It's just a matter of getting things together, changing perception, learning how to perceive in a different way, so the information that you accept or that you receive now comes in a different way, and it doesn't affect you negatively. Now you learn to create a boundary. So that's kind of something that we were touching up on, and it's important, because once we learn to look at things from a different, I like to say from a different window, it certainly, it doesn't make life perfect, because there's no such thing as perfection, but it certainly dials it down on, the tough times and the rough times, or things that, you're really not accepting, or not maybe looking at it from, from a different angle. So that's why I think perception is a huge thing.
Amazing, thank you. And that's a topic that has actually come up in a lot of the personal development courses that I've taken, and the path that has brought me to where I am. And I can tell you that it's pretty powerful when you truly try to understand what it is that you're perceiving from the conversation that's coming to you, because a lot of the times we do misinterpret what the person is trying to say. And one of the courses that I took actually focused on the word love, and I am looking in your kitchen and I see the word love everywhere. And I think that is amazing. And one little secret that you don't know is, before I wrote this book, one of the things that the publishing company, which is called the Author Incubator, that has helped guide me through this journey, one of the things that they told me to do is to take out a piece of paper, grab some markers, get creative, and write a word that resonates with you, that is the word you're going to focus on when you're writing this book. And that's the word that came up, love.
Wow.
So I have it hanging in my kitchen, and it was completely created based on that love. Sharing love with the world and helping them transform the way they feel, reconnect with themselves, and really, really find that connection between the physical and the emotional pain that we can experience in life. So I love that you have that word everywhere.
And it follows you now.
It follows me. So yeah, that was pretty interesting that you have that word in your kitchen. And affirmations can come into your life in different ways. Like, you can have pretty paintings, or over here he has a cork holder that says, "This home runs on love, laughter, and wine." I mean, buy paintings. I have paintings and little affirmations all over my house. Anything that uplifts you when you see it in the store, then take action and buy it. If it makes you happy and you're going to see it every day and it's going to remind you that this is the way you want to feel, then it's worth having it in your home or having it on your desk. I have all kinds of affirmations in my office at work, and it's amazing to see them and reconnect with those feelings. Sure. Whenever you need them.
Sure. Yeah, you got to have them constantly present. You have to have them present, around, and live with that intent, like, how you say it, and I love that you said that, using the word love. How you have the affirmation, you start your day off with it. So that's the right thing to do. You want to start your day off with what it is you want. Look at it as, hey, this is going to happen.
Exactly.
And you receive love. You receive love in so many different ways. You are loved by many. There's so many people that you're helping by doing this. I get excited every time I talk to you, with all the new projects you're doing and all that. I'm very proud of her for everything she's doing. The sky's the limit with you, so yeah.
Thank you.
I love what you're doing.
I love what you're doing too.
Yeah.
And yeah, the love has been a big part, and the affirmations has been an essential part of that transformation. And now that we've covered perception, I want you to talk a little bit about hypnosis, because this is like a new realm for me. I'm doing the hypnosis. I've seen huge transformations in the people that I've worked with. I've found that they've been able to connect with their inner child and really tap into whatever the root cause of the issue that they're having at hand is. And I experienced that myself in my own journey, going through hypnosis and reconnecting with that inner child, and finally opening the door and feeling like I wasn't trapped anymore. But I've seen that also with my clients, and I think it's just an amazing tool to open up that subconscious mind. And I want you to explain it a little bit further, because you've been doing it for much longer than me, and I'm great at what I do. I've connected deeply with the people that connect with me, but I want you to explain it, because sometimes I have issues explaining exactly what hypnosis does to the subconscious mind.
Sure. So basically, let me just start off by saying I've been practicing hypnosis and doing for about 12 years now, and I was beyond excited and honored that I learned this from my very good friend Sheena at Schmendy's, which I'm sure she's all over the place, so you guys may see her.
She's my teacher too.
Yeah, she actually taught Diane as well. She certified her. And I have also learned a lot from where I currently work at Coral Gables Hypnosis, Patty Fuenzalida, who's an amazing, amazing, all-around powerhouse woman. So I learned all these great things from powerhouse women. That's an interesting thing. So girl power, I'm all for it. So hypnosis, there's a lot of hypnosis is taboo. When you go out there and you mention the word hypnosis or what you do for a living, kind of, people kind of like put up their defense right away. Oh, hypnosis. Oh, don't look into my eyes, kind of thing. So it's kind of funny, but really hypnosis, we go through self-hypnosis on a daily basis. It's something as simple as it's a state of concentration. And the reason why you relax during hypnosis is so that your subconscious mind opens up in a greater way. So you receive information a lot more effectively. It sucks up in all the information a lot more effectively. So basically, your subconscious mind is basically the vault. It carries everything. It's your file cabinet. It stores everything. Sometimes things that you may not even feel you're listening to. I may be in a conversation with Diane, and someone else is having a conversation near me, and I can just faintly hear that rumble behind me. The subconscious mind is actually picking up on that. Then maybe a week, 2 weeks later, I may actually start a conversation based on what I heard. And then I say to myself, why did we even start talking about this? Subconsciously, it filtered. So the reason for relaxing you during hypnosis is so that the subconscious mind gets to absorb as much information as possible. However, you can be in hypnosis with your eyes open. You can be in hypnosis during a conversation, because it is that full state of concentration. There's many techniques that are used, such as neuro-linguistic programming. You may also hear of that as NLP, which is, language pattern that affect you neurologically based on your senses. We all have the sense of hearing, the sense of touch, the sense of feel, which is kinesthetic, the visualization, auditory. What is your main sense at that point? So talking to my clients is very important at the beginning, because I get to feel and see where they're at that moment. So if you notice, I said feel and see. That's because I'm kinesthetic and visual as well. So words are very effective. That's how I guide my hypnosis, based on whatever your main sense is at the time, and that's how it becomes effective. It starts to connect all of your senses together. Therefore, it becomes your natural behavior. So that's basically wrapped up in a nutshell what hypnosis is. It does help you change perception, i.e. what we're talking about. Why? Because it kind of now teaches you new information and how to perceive it in a different way. So once that happens, that's like wow, I should have had a V8 moment, I didn't look at it that way, and now it doesn't bother me anymore. So it's really nice, and it's a natural way of doing things. Nothing is 100% in life, but man, it sure did change my life, and that's why I took it on. And I'm so grateful for Sheena and Patty and all of my friends, and Diane and stuff, that we all get to do this wonderful thing together. So that's what it is.
Amazing, thank you. One of the things that I found in my journey is it was very similar to me to meditation. So I enjoy guided meditations, and I can really get deep and profound with guided meditations and connect to myself. And then when they have affirmations embedded in them, it helps tap into that subconscious and ingrain those desired beliefs that I want to accomplish, that I want for my life. So I tend to combine the two. And when I do my sessions, definitely the same thing as Ralph, I do have a conversation with the client before, because anything could have happened before that session. There could have been an argument at work, or a confrontation with your partner, or something happened with your kids. So whatever impacted you in the moment is what we're going to work on in that session. And then I like to do personally transformational regressions. Like that's where we met in that course.
Sure.
And for me, when Adriana used that technique on me, it was so powerful. And I haven't used it on everyone, because I think it really depends on the person's goals and what they're trying to accomplish. And
Sure.
if they want to just relax and be in a trance state and not have that conversation, because transformational regressions does take a little bit of conversation and them getting back to you, what are they seeing, what are they experiencing. But I like to combine the two. So I usually start off with for the people that want to have one, right? So I start off with that conversation, that I relax them, I get them into that state, and then I go into the transformational regressions to try to ask questions to figure out exactly where was this feeling or belief that they're experiencing in this moment, in that conversation maybe they had with their boss or their friend, that really, really worked them up and maybe gave them symptoms. They could be having pain, and then try and figure out where was the first time that they experienced this before in their life, and how far back can we go. And most of the time, they go back to childhood, and it is, which
between
is what
1 and 8.
exactly between 1
years
and
old,
8, and it's amazing how I've seen it in so many clients that they actually go back to that time frame between 1 and 8. And something will come up, and it could have been something completely minor that they didn't even remember, but it impacts the way that they're reacting and their perception, which we talked about before,
100%.
of the situation that's happening in the moment.
Sure.
Which is so powerful. So once we go through that I get through the transformational regression, and I like to relax them again a little bit, because we've been having this conversation, so I feel like they've awoken from that little trance. So I enjoy also to figure out exactly what is their ideal relaxation state, what is their place that they like to go, their happy place, what makes them laugh, what makes them smile. That's one of the big things that I enjoy, because I think incorporating something that's meaningful to that person makes the hypnosis even more powerful, because now they can visualize, they can feel it, they can smell it, they can taste it much more deeply, because you have made it and tailor it to them. Have you experienced that in your own sessions?
100%. You said it. I mean, you pretty much mirrored on what I was saying, as far as, like, you mentioned the senses. That's one of the most important parts, at least for me. One of the techniques that I use is I identify as I'm speaking to you, where's your sense, which is your main sense, and you start to put those together as you're going through the hypnosis. She mentioned the transformational regression, something that's very powerful. I learned it as well. It doesn't apply to all the times, but it does work very nicely. There's a vast amount of techniques out there to get to certain points, and you just have to use what works best for the person. You feel out. This job is very kinesthetic in a way. You do feel out how the person is and what they react to, and what gives them more of that, where they can capture the information that you're putting forth, so that it becomes effective. So it's huge. It's huge. Just knowing which sense is the main one there, and then starting to go from there, and then you build on that. Like when you see, what is it you hear, or that person may be auditory, or what is it you're seeing, or when you see this, you go into visualization. Or you may feel the wind hitting your face. You're in that trance moment where you actually may even feel a little breeze in your face, and you're like, oh man, you're like, what was that? I mean, I've had people like wake up like saying, oh, I actually felt wind in my face, you know. And I say wake up, they're not really sleeping, but they're in a very relaxed state. So kind of like, you know, some people that are not used to it may kind of like, wow, that was powerful. I didn't realize I can actually feel something just based on, you know, what you were saying. So the mind's very powerful, you know. We don't use, what is it, a third of it?
Yes.
There's so much, you know. Even in healing, you know, how you talk, you're going to talk about healing and stuff like that, how you feel yourself, you know. We have so much healing power within our bodies, you know, healing hormones, pain relief hormones, you know, when we do medical hypnosis. That's so powerful, and it works.
It's amazing. Yeah, we'll talk about that in the second half. But definitely, yeah, I've seen how powerful it can be. And the interesting thing is, it doesn't have to be that the person's there in the session with you, because I've actually recorded audios, which I recorded with the intent of creating a meditation. And I've shared it with some friends and colleagues and people that work with me at Baptist in the hospital. And it's been interesting how some of them really, really feel it in their body. And they tell me, I feel vibrations. Like, how the heck do you do that? That you make me feel it like in my heart and my body. It's just, it's the tone, it's the way that we speak, it's the words that we use that just really connect into your physical body, but also 100%. To your subconscious mind, 100%. That are so powerful.
100%. Yeah, your tone is very important in raising and dropping at certain times, you know. And again, language, what it is you're saying is very, very important, because that's how you're guiding the mind, you know. The mind goes where it wants to, not where you want it to go. So, you know, in like the transformational regression, you know, you don't know what that person went through. You're asking. So that person has a conscious mind at the time to be able to answer your questions. And then they're like, oh, wow, I didn't even realize that, you know, this emotion was from when I fell off a bike when I was 7 years old. And it was how my dad screamed at me for, you know, crying. Something as simple as that. It may have nothing to do with what you're going through now.
Right.
But that emotion is tied in that far back, and it just carried because we're taught to suppress. Just our survival mechanism, you know. You're taught to tighten up your belt. Come on, nothing happened. Let's go. And yes, there's a time and place for that. You know, there's a moment where you do have to tighten up your belt and make it happen. However, you also have to know how to process when you're going through things. It's okay to feel like crap, you know. There's days you don't feel good, you know. The world isn't perfect, so being able to process and learn how to go through your moments, you know. You're having a bad day, it's okay to acknowledge, man, you know what, today's just, I'm not doing too good, you know. So, but the whole key is not to let yourself swim in it. Don't drown in it. Learn to process it, okay, and then you get up and go. And emotion doesn't last that long once you bring it up. If you lock it in, you become like a Coke bottle, you know. You shake it and it fizzes out. So eventually we start to get physical symptoms. You know, you start to get IBS, you lose hair, libido drops, God knows everything. You start not sleeping well. This usually one of the first components. A lot of people lose sleep right away, you know. You can't disconnect the mind and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's how that all, it's a chain reaction, you know, and so it's very powerful.
Very powerful stuff. Well, now we have to take a little break. So, aloha, and we'll be back in a few minutes. And that's the end for you guys here. If you want to see the full hear the full podcast on Dreamvisions 7, it comes live December 5th, and you can hear the whole 50-minute show. And we're going to be talking about what he just said. So the physical experience in your body. And I'm going to talk about a little story about having test anxiety in childhood and how that was impacting me in my current day life, working in the emergency room. And the book actually talks about it. I was actually a registered nurse in the emergency room. And one of the doctors, which no longer is here, he's actually living in Africa. And I wish that I could tell him that I wrote this book and that he was in the book. But I was so sick all the time and always ending up in the emergency room, literally leaving work and being taken to the emergency room. That ended up being my last real shift in the emergency room because I was so sick. And how all this fear and all this anxiety and all this stuff we hold in our bodies can actually reach a point where you hit rock bottom. So if you want to hear about the rock bottom, you got to listen to that Dream Vision podcast coming up in December. And if you want the free book, go ahead and message me and I will email you the book when it's ready in a couple weeks. Bye. This is Diane, Vic, and Ralph. See you
Bye-bye.
later.
Take care.